On August 7th, 2025, a day of national honor got all tangled up with a major economic message. The White House held a ceremony to celebrate America's heroes, yeah, but it was also the stage for something else, a calculated mix of national pride and, political strategy. It's a great question, right? How does a medal that's been around for over 2 centuries suddenly make headlines today? Well, to really get what happened on that day, you gotta understand the incredible history behind the honor at the heart of it all. This story, it doesn't start in 2025. It starts way back at the very founding of the nation. So let's go back. The roots of the Purple Heart, they run deep. I mean, really deep in American military tradition. And its journey is this amazing story of revival and just enduring respect for sacrifice. So check this out. It all begins way back in 1782. General George Washington himself creates something called the Badge of Military Merit to honor extraordinary bravery. It kind of fell out of use for a while, but then in 1932, on Washington's 200th birthday, President Franklin D. Roosevelt brings it back. And that revival, that created the modern Purple Heart we all know today, a really solemn award for service members killed or wounded in combat. And the sheer scale of this sacrifice, it's just staggering. Get this, since it was brought back in 1932, over 1.8 million Purple Hearts have been awarded. Just think about that. Every single one of those medals is a story, a life forever changed or a life lost, all in service to the country. It's a number that just commands respect. So all of that deep historical weight, it was front and center at the White House on August 7th, 2025. You've got this big ceremony happening in the East Room, a really powerful scene. The room was filled with nearly 100 Purple Heart recipients and their families. And with them all there, President Trump stepped up and used these words as he signed the official proclamation. But it wasn't just about the proclamation. He also shared a really personal story that connected him directly to the veterans in that room. So during the ceremony, the president talked about what happened after the assassination attempt on him back in July 2024. He shared that these 3 veterans, Thomas Mateo, Gerald Enter Jr., and John Ford, each sent him their own Purple Heart medals. He called it an unbelievable gesture of kindness, and it created this really powerful emotional link to the very sacrifice they were all there to honor. But remember what I said at the start? This Day of Honor had another job to do. It was no accident that it was held on the administration's 200th day in office. It was a platform to send a totally different message, this one about the U.S. economy. So the event was really doing double duty. On one hand, you've got this really genuine ceremony honoring valor, honoring military sacrifice. But on the other hand, it was a very clear display of economic confidence, a way to try and push back against some growing worries about the nation's financial health. A deliberate mix of national pride and fiscal messaging. Okay, to get the economic side of this, we need a quick explainer on something called core CPI. Don't worry, it's not as complicated as it sounds. Basically, it's a way to measure inflation, but it takes out the prices of food and energy because, those can jump all over the place. It gives economists a clear look at the underlying inflation trend. And back then, inflation was a huge topic of conversation. And this is where that message of confidence from the White House was hitting a pretty tough reality. The administration was dealing with some economic headwinds, and some of them were from its own policies. The tariff rate on certain imported goods had shot up from 2.4% to over 8% in just a few months. So the big question everyone had was, okay, are these tariffs going to make everything more expensive and push that core CPI number even higher? So what does this all mean? When you put it all together, the patriotism of Purple Heart Day, this strategic economic message, what are the real signals being sent here? What are we supposed to take away from this? It pretty much boils down to 3 key signals. First, there's a push for national unity. The idea is to use that shared respect we all have for veterans to bring people together. Second, it's projecting economic confidence, a story of strength meant to calm down markets and consumers. And third, it's a potential hint about future policy. By acting strong despite those inflation worries, the administration was kind of suggesting that the Federal Reserve might feel pressured to hold off on cutting interest